ভালো আছি। Hello, good afternoon. I hope you had a very quick lunch and welcome to the first parallel technical session of third international conference on urban and regional planning. And the theme of the first technical session is very interesting because it is covering three different cross-cutting issues. And the theme is sustainable urban livelihoods, assessments, practices, and planning for health and housing. I am Professor Dr. Muhammad Ashikur Rahman, Head of Urban and Rural Planning Discipline of Khulna University, is moderating this session. And I'm really delighted to host our chair, Professor Dr. Khandokar Shabbir Ahmed. He is the President of Institute of Architecture, Bangladesh, and now he is serving as a Professor of Department of Architecture, Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, and he was also a former Head of Department of Architecture of Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology. We have three discussions in this session, and we are proudly hosting Professor Dr. Abul Kalam. He's a former professor of Urban and Regional Planning Department of Jahangirnagar University. We have architect planner Ansar. He was the former General Secretary of Bangladesh Institute of Planners. And we have architect planner Salma Al Shofi. She is the president of Women Architects, Engineers and Planners Association of Bangladesh. So in this session, we will have four different technical papers that will be presented by our colleagues. And all of the paper presenters will get 8 minutes of time to present their findings. Then after their presentation, when all the four groups will present their paper, we'll open the floor for discussion. But for the discussion session from the audience, if you have any question, please write those questions in a slip, and our volunteers will collect those slips and we will try to answer those questions in our discussion session. And when the questions of the audiences will be discussed, later our discussants will actually talk about this cross-cutting issue. And finally, our session chair will conclude this session with his valuable remarks and insights. So with the permission of the session chair, I am now inviting our first group who are going to present their paper on child-friendly high school and assessment of Chattogram City Corporation operated high schools. And the paper is authored by MD Jilur Rahman Sarkar and Dr. Muhammad Rashidul Hassan, and it will be presented by MD Jilur Rahman Sarkar. I would like to request Muhammad Jilur Rahman Sarkar to present their findings. Excuse me. Okay, best of luck.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to my presentation. My presentation topic is about child-friendly high school and assessment of Chittagong City Corporation operated high school. It is in the Chittagong City Corporation area, and the paper is presented by me, MD Jilur Rahman Sarkar, student Chuet, and Dr. Muhammad Rashul Hassan, Professor, Department of Urban and Regional Planning, Chuet. Now come to the background of the study. we live in a domestic society where children are the big part of our country. They spend a reasonable amount of time at school, so the environment of the school is the most important things for children. Uh, a child, a school is considered as a child friendly when it provides safe, clean, and healthy and protective environment to the children. And a child friendly school nurture a child friendly child. The total number of school-going children of Bangladesh is about 74 lakhs, age range from 13 to 18, which is about 4.5% of total population of Bangladesh. They are the future leader of our country. Chittagong City Corporation operated 41 high school. The average size of the student size of the schools are 700. So it is very important to find out the existing facilities of those schools. Now come to the children definition. According to UNICEF and United Nations Convention on the Right of the Children and Bangladesh Children Act 2013, in all the cases said that any human being below the age of 18 will be considered as a children. Here is some criteria on the basis of UNICEF Child Friendly Manual. Those are natural light fan, light wall color, railing, boundary wall, security camera, etc. The study will take all those criteria for the study purpose. Now come to the aim and objective of the research. The aim of the research is to evaluate the existing facilities operated by Chittagong City Corporation High Schools. To fulfill the aim, some following objectives are to identify the existing facilities of the schools in respect to child-friendly school, to find out the key issues around child-friendliness, and lastly, to recommend some specific guideline for making those schools more child-friendly. Here is the study area. Here we can see the boundary of Chittagong City Corporation, and the schools are denoted by the small dotted. Here is the methodology of the study. After collecting data from both primary and secondary source, data are analyzed through SPSS and Excel. Then assessment of the existing facilities and key issues around child friendliness. After that, finding on the existing facilities, on the basis of existing facilities. Lastly, propose some guideline. Sampling technique. Slobbing formula are used as a sampling technique, and the sample size of the study is 394, and 10 students will be surveyed from each school. Now come to the results and discussion. Three category of school: boys, girls, and combined school. The analysis of the study also done on the basis of three category of schools. Now come to the student male-female ratio. We can see that most of the student of Chittagong City Corporation High Schools is female. The percentage is near about 76%, and rest of the students are male. In the below graph, we can see the average information about student, teachers, staffs, classroom, and the land area in square meter. We can see the above table. We can see the teacher and student ratio, which is averagely 44:1, where the World Bank ratio is 30:1. But if we come to the student perspective, they all good and very good satisfied about the teachers. In the below table, we can see the classroom staff ratio, which is averagely 3:1, but all the students are moderate to very good satisfied about the staffs. Now we can see the available classroom facility. We can see that all the schools provide their fan facility in their classroom. Other facilities like good floor condition, light wall condition, and natural light are also available in the given percentage. But the students are moderately satisfied about their classroom facilities. Now come to the indoor and outdoor playing facilities. We can see that only 10.5% schools have their indoor playing facilities. On the other hand, 0.8% of the schools have their outdoor playing facilities. When you come to the students, most of the students are moderately satisfied about their outdoor playing facilities, and most of the students says that they have no their indoor playing facilities. Here's the graph of indoor and outdoor area per student from three type of school, boys, girls, and combined schools. Now come to the available safety equipments. We can see that no schools offer lift facilities in Chittagong City Corporation High Schools, and almost all the schools offer boundary wall and railing facilities, and other facilities are available in the given percentage. And most of the students are moderately satisfied about their safety equipments. Now come to the available sanitation facilities. We can see that all the boys' school offer their full-time provision of water supply, and other facilities are also available in the given percentage, and most of the students are moderately satisfied about their sanitation facilities. Now come to the available pure drinking water, tiffin facilities, and noise. We can see that no school offer healthy food in their tiffin period, and we can also see that most of the schools have their noise while doing their classes, and most of the students, they are also satisfied, moderate to very bad satisfied about those facilities. Now come to the ranking of the schools. Out of 19 criteria, schools are ranked. We can see that.
Jilur Rahman, this is the last minute for you. I'm the moderator here. Okay, this is the last minute for you.
We can see that no schools get above 80% marks. Most of the schools get 50 to 60% of marks. We can see some key issues, which is inadequacy of safety facility, lack of indoor and outdoor playing facility, higher student-teacher ratio, lack of noise-free environment, etc. Some guidelines for this paper, which is proper assessment should be needed, and indoor and outdoor playing facilities should be provided. More students should be incorporated and for better learning and teaching experience. Toilet facility and pure drinking facility should be provided. Noise pollution should be minimized, as any of the schools doesn't provide healthy food in the tiffin period, so healthy food provision should be created. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, MD Jilur Rahman Sarkar. We were listening their findings on child-friendly high school and assessment of Chattogram City Corporation operated high schools. Now we would like to move to our next presentation. The presentation is about participatory resilient housing solution for low-income community at saline-prone urban coastal regions of Bangladesh. The paper is authored by Fatima Sharmin Sonia, Mohammad Maqsudur Rahman, MD Hasibur Rahman, and Anirban Jordar Tanmoy. On behalf of the team, I would like to request Fatima Sharmin Sonia to present their findings.
Thank you. Our paper is on participatory resilient housing solution for low-income community at saline-prone urban coastal regions of Bangladesh. So this research actually we did it under a small funding from ICAT and the Durham University. It was very small funding, so we selected a site at Potuakhali, and our research based on our study. The background, we know the Bangladesh is the largest delta in the world, and 1/3 of this country actually in lake and coastal shoreline and south area. The coastal zone of Bangladesh is severely affected by saline intrusion. Over even 35 years, salinity increased 26% within 19 coastal districts, which actually cover one-third portion of the country. This excess salinity intrusion in soil hampered the bill form, and it has vast effect on bill form, the durability and the longevity, which is a economic loss for people, especially the low-income community in urban coastal area. Because the salinity, when the salinity intrusion happen in bill form, it actually increase the maintenance cost because it cause some dampness and erosion for the bill form. So our aims of the study was to find out the impacts of salinity on the bill form, how it impact in low-income community, and to propose a resilient housing solution on the basis of our survey and findings. Because we see the resilience housing is a capacity of community to fight against climate change impacts by lessen salinity intrusion in bill form. Our study area was in Patuakhali district, a coastal district of Bangladesh. The ward number was 1, and the geological situation of this district is 7-meter height from sea level. The soil condition is extreme accumulation of salinity, and top soil condition is 5 to 10 centimeter is covered with saline intrusion. So our study area surrounds with rivers on 3 sides, which indicates even salinity in water and both soil situation. The salinity increases this study area steadily during dry season, and which stays from December to March to April. And the bill forms in this area is highly exposed of sensitivity to salinity. So our research method, we have conducted the research on actually 3 phases, but we took the data by 2 phases, the secondary data and the primary data. We collected the data in first phase through some transect work, FGD with community, and we conducted even a CAP, a community action plan, which was held with the, our community to understand the existing risk for the salinity and the vulnerability for vulnerability caused by the salinity and their capacity, their needs, and their existing resources, and also their thinking to reduce how we can reduce salinity from their bill form. And on second phase, we analyzed the data graphically and conceptually to prepare some maps. And in third phase, we proposed a design solution by sketch and some software computer-generated drawings. So our findings are, we conducted the survey among 31 households who were living on that site for last 25 years period, and the maximum community household members who stayed there, their occupation was farmer, and some were fishermen, and also some continued their own business. So their income range is very low. We got minimum 10,000 to highest 30,000 BDT per month. And around 10% people, they have their monthly savings around 2.5 thousand to 5,000 per month. So actually it is very difficult for them to afford a yearly house maintenance cost for these low-income people. And we also surveyed the existing bill form. We got around 90% of houses were made with temporary and semi-temporary material. The temporary materials like bamboo, wood, and corrugated roof. And another 10% houses, they are also built with brick. But some houses also, this is the housing condition, this very poor housing condition for existing people. So we also charts what kind of mitigation and adaptation technique they use. We got no mitigation technique. Some people uses some chemical mixture, but they are very expensive for low-income people. So maximum people, maximum almost 60 to 70% people, they don't use any measures to mitigate or adapt to the salinity. So we got the housing area minimum 50 square meter within that 31 household. And another problem was in community, it's a fresh water scarcity. So saline water is everywhere. When they built houses with bricks, it is a part of the house. The salinity is part of the house because they use water for construction purpose, for curing purpose. So
Sonia,
salinity trapped.
we have only 1 minute left.
Okay. So people uses actually plinth, rising plinth to adapted the salinity. So we propose two solutions, one active solution and one passive solution. Active solution is to uplift the plinth height and the retrofitting the plinth soil. And the passive solution is minimum contact with soil, and which also have more load-bearing capacity with large built area. The active solution is we can build highest 25 square meter ground coverage area, of which estimated cost is 500 to 700 BDT. Construction cost, and lifespan is 10 to 15 years of these measures. And this is a mixture of soil, 30% local soil, mud, 25% coconut fiber, and 35% cement coarse, 10% concrete rubbish. This is the passive solution. It is mainly for multi-family living because its allowable floor area is 60 meters square, and the height can up to 12 meter. So this is the footing system. It's a precast footing with a PVC drum sheet, and the footing distance is 2.8 meters center to center. And people can use paint, anti-corrosive paint with that footing, and keep hollow for air insulation. And this estimated cost is 600 to 900 BDT per square feet. So our recommendation is we cannot stop the salinization, it's a continuous process, but we can lessen the saline intrusion in bill form, and that is our main recommendation. To lessen the saline intrusion in bill form, which can make a resilient community in coastal city. So saline resilient solution for house, it's a high demand because salinity is increasing continuously in Bangladesh. So government and other private stakeholders, they can involved in this resilient house design practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fatima Sharmin Sonia. She was presenting her research findings on participatory resilient housing solution for low-income community at saline-prone urban coastal regions of Bangladesh. Now, I would like to invite our final paper of today's session. It is about an assessment on community health by utilizing participatory rapid appraisal method, a case study on Rajshahi, Bangladesh. The paper is authored by Farhana Afroz, MD Joel Mia, MD Rashid, Sadia Naushin, Anutosh Das, and MD Shakil Arsalan. I would like to request the team to present their findings more than the background and the methodology they have adopted. It will save your time to present all of the things you want to present. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Farhana Afroz from RUED. Our presentation topic for today is an assessment on community health by utilizing participatory rapid appraisal method, a case study on Rajshahi, Bangladesh. Now, first come to the introduction. Community health is the study of status of a defined group of people and the action and condition to promote, protect and preserve their health. The government of Bangladesh has a one-of-a-kind national to community health infrastructure with more than 60% of the population having minimal access to basic health care. Poor access to maternal and newborn health remains a serious concern, particularly in rural areas. The purpose of this study was to evaluate the existing health condition and health facilities and investigate potential solutions by the community participation of the rural inhabitants of Birostal in Rajshahi. Now come to why our research is important. This study has could make a nationally significant contribution to the improvement of community health facilities for rural people. And this study focuses on community health of rural people. It will ensure a proper and sustainable solution for them. And this is why we have chosen two study topics, objectives, that is to assess the current health situation and health facilities of the people of the study area to determine the possible solution and from the findings by using PRA methods. And here is the methodological process of our research. And this is our study area, which is Birostal village under 9 number wards in Paba Upazila. And for our study data collection, we have two types of data, that is primary data and secondary data. For secondary data, we have used various type of journal and research paper and BVS. And for the primary data, we have used participatory rapid appraisal tool. And under objective 1, we have used social map, transit work, mobility map, service and opportunity map, trend analysis and daily activity schedule. And to analyze this objective 2, we have used cause-effect diagram, pairwise ranking and dream map. And here is our output by using this PRA tools. And we have used two focus group discussion by using these PRA tools. And now come to the result and discussion part. But for this part, I would like to invite MD Rashid to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Farhana. Now I start objective 1, available resource of the study area, social map. We findings that no health clinic or hub facilities and dominance of madrasa institution, only one both primary and secondary schools of the study area. And here our existing feature of our study area, schools, madrasa and wetland roads. Here our the first objective under mobility pattern toward health service, and we show that the PRA tools, Birostal and distance from different services. Most of the hospitals and clinics are situated near the city, and people frequently use RMC for any kind of health treatment, but this is 14 kilometers far away. And next, our available service and opportunities of the study area, and important service such as hospital located from for the study area. This is our available service and opportunities. And this is a frequently pattern of disease. We must findings different types of disease such as diarrhea, malaria, pneumonia, and different and depend on the month and the severity of the disease. Here our Venn diagram, and this is here our Venn diagram, and this is indicate the circles of the severity of the disease, and number of the zero indicate the severity and the cost of this recover. And most of the disease are the effect of flood and less costly. And this is recording the disease of the figure trend analysis of the disease, and we first vertically decrease and increasing the situation of the disease first before 15 years ago, and 15 years ago new, and 5 years later. Some of the disease rate is increasing from the first year, and most of those are seasonal, especially rainy season disease, and main reason the bad road condition with no drainage system, which create unnecessary flood. And here our daily activities schedule, and we findings from this schedule that as flood and water polluted, it creates many infectious disease like scabies and diarrhea, malaria, etc. And this is the most our part of this objectives too, effect and cause findings, lack of the awareness, and this is literacy problem, and most effective and functional that are political conflict under of developed health infrastructure, and second is cannot get medical service because of no both state of the clinic and healthcare. And this is our cause effect and current situation of this our study area, and this is fair-wise ranking. The first, the ranking is no health clinic or health treatment facilities. This is because of a basis the priority frequency, which is 6. And the dream diagram, and this is the dream diagram where we found from the local people. They said their needs, and they recommended this from us. And findings from our research outcome after conducting complex assessment, we finding healthcare hub clinic in this area. And so their demand was conduct one health clinic at Bishurmore and one hospital via Bazar with proper community facilities. According to the planning standard, one community health clinic is enough for the study area, where all facilities should be included like emergency case operation theater, consistent doctor service providing 24 and 7-hour health facilities, etc. Conclusion, PRA method can be successfully applied to find more in-depth findings and participation of local community. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to open the floor for discussion. If there is any question from the audience to our presenters. Is there any question? Or if you have any question, then you can write on a slip, and our volunteers are going to collect it. As we are running out of time because of different issues from the morning, I would like to ask our discussant. Sorry, sir. Can I ask the volunteer to give a... Volunteering.
My question is to the first paper and the third paper. What type of research is this? Is it for your bachelor degree or for any project or for any
Sir,
studio
this
project?
paper is our undergrad project, kind of.
Undergraduate thesis.
No, sir. It's
Undergraduate?
it's a part of our lab project.
Lab project.
Yes,
So
sir.
you should mention it. Yeah? Before you present, you should mention this is a lab project or a thesis project. Oh.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
that's
Okay,
my
sir. Okay, sir.
only question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, go on, sir.
The first paper, the madam presented that by 2050, at least 50% of the population will be urbanized. What did she get the figure? And does she know that what would be the impact of the investment pattern, the living pattern, then the burden on the part of the Purusabha government? You see, that's a tremendous job. This is 223.
Okay, do you want to respond? Group 1, I think, sir, it was Group 2. They talked about that by 2050 we'll be urbanized with 50% population living in urban areas. Was it Group 2? Do you want to respond, Group 2? Or you can sit. You can sit. Yeah. I mean, in relation to your study, Ghulam Rahman sir was asking that if we have a 50% population living in urban areas by 2050, then what will be the consequences in terms of physical infrastructures, in terms of, in particular having the relation with your study, what will be the worst challenges for housing issues?
Thank you very much. We know by 2050, 50% of Bangladesh will be urbanized, and this is also our concern because the coastal area of coastal district of Bangladesh, it also will be developed, and our research area is on main district, the Patuakhali main district, where some people migrated from others Upojela to Patuakhali district. So we think when people will migrate to district level, some informal settlement will be developed also in district level. So our research will solve the low informal settlement housing solution. It is based on actually coastal district based, where low income people live.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to go with the discussant's opinion. So first of all, I would like to request Kalam sir that, sir, as you are the ex-president of Bangladesh Institute of Planners, and you are a very prominent researcher in the field of urban planning, and while you are the president, you work closely with Save the Children and other organizations who really works with child-friendly issues. So my question for you is that reflecting on today's session, at first I would like to request you to reflect on today's 3 papers. Then from my side, I have a particular question for you. It is, how can we translate or transform the spatial planning practice more child-friendly and participatory, especially giving emphasis on children's physical and mental health to develop a nation who will be a healthy future for us?
থ্যাংক ইউ। ঠিক আছে, শোনা যাচ্ছে? By spatial planning, what we mean? We mean standardize a facility for certain number of people or certain area. So if we can do that in the process of planning, I think we can have a system where every child will get the similar facilities, enjoy the similar facilities. For example, if we can plan the locations of the schools, considering the size of the community or a number of children taking education in a school. So if we can spread in a special context so that children can get equal opportunity in terms of all facilities. First of all, education, of course, then their health matters. So they need sports facilities, cultural facilities in the school, built in the system. As you can see in the civilized world, where in a nation, each child gets equal opportunities. If it is not the equal, at least similar facilities everywhere, so that they enjoy the system, they have their health taken care of, their cultural aspects are taken care of, so that they can deliver the results equally everywhere in the society. So that makes children a healthy community for the nation. And here, planning is most important. So we need to have the schools in terms of the requirement we set in the standard of planning. So here, say, a primary school for, say, 2,500 people, a community of 2,500 people, or an area on 1 kilometer radius. So, and that's where comes the spatial planning. So in our society, in our cities, we have facilities, but not equally spread in the community. So children somewhere gets better opportunities. And again, the schools are varied in nature, in terms of qualities, which actually does not help children to get equal opportunities. So in matters of their mental growth, in terms of their health, in terms of their upbringing. So if we want a really healthy society, and who will be the resource persons? So human resources, in the process of human resource development, child care or children facilities is very, very important. And as you know, the developed world or the civilized world, children are given the priority, and most priority, number one priority, I would say. So we need that for human resource development, who can contribute in the future when they are grown up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your very important insight. Now, I would like to request answer, sir. As you were the General Secretary of Bangladesh Institute of Planners before, and by training and by profession, you are an architect planner. So one of our paper in today's session was about saline tolerant built environment, in particular saline tolerant housing in the coastal region. And often when we talk about housing in the coastal areas, we don't see a lot of innovation. We don't see a lot of new technologies. So if you could really reflect on these issues today, and answering one of my questions is that how the innovation and building materials, construction technology, and easing the land regulations can provide opportunities for inclusive housing solution, especially when we talk about land banking. And here we want to relate the special planning framework that we are talking about from this morning.
Thank you. I'm heard. Shona jaচ্ছে, please. Yeah. So, to be very frank, the presentations made now since the screen was on the back side of from our seat, it was a bit difficult to actually relate the data they presented and the findings. So I will focus mostly on general terms irrespective of what they have said. So coming to the first presentation, that is child-friendly high school. My immediate observation is we could have compared the status with internationally accepted standards. If that would have been there, then situation would have been better. It was a comparison between schools or among the schools, as I can understand here. But instead, if we could go for how many a single teacher can teach how many students, maximum or standard. A school classroom, how much spaces is needed for a school classroom. And compared to that, what we have at that school would have been better informative for us to actually transfer it into action. So that would have been much better in that sense. Nevertheless, they tried their one and they have presented that. I congratulate them for that, whatever they have done. So standard should come first and then compared, then we can have some assessment, and that should be my point. Number two, the participatory resilient housing solution. So housing solution was presented because of the time constraint maybe. They couldn't mention how the participation actually went on. The participatory, as they said, it was not very clear because the result was there. So they raised their plea in one solution, in some other different solutions. But how the local people were engaged and how their indigenous wisdom was incorporated into the international knowledge into the system would have been much better. So in that sense, I think here it a bit lacks. But nevertheless, as I said, that they tried their best because it's a simple project. So project is always most because of the time constraint and the fund constraint, it can happen. So congratulate them as well. But in ideal situation, we will, I would like to mention that this should be kept in mind in the future researches. Regarding the third one, community health. Here, I cannot actually comment on that because of mostly the data I couldn't relate, as I said, that is the main problem. But combining these three and the question you mentioned, I want to have my opinion on this, and maybe that will answer some of the questions at the same time, and the presentation as well. So what should be the solution for this? As you generally mentioned, then I'll come to the technology part of it. Regarding the coastal belt, if we raise, we think if 1 meter water level is raised over sea level, then the water will come up to Chatpur. It will cross Chatpur, you see. It will not remain only there. It will cross Chatpur. So it's a huge area that will be inundated. So from that viewpoint, the Potuakhali and other areas we are talking about, maybe that is not the reality. Reality is the whole Bangladesh has to be thought accordingly. So having said that, the salinity water in Khulna, you are actually teaching there, so you know, and I had been Khulna for Mongla plan. I was there as senior urban planner. So that gave me an insight of the situation. The very salinity doesn't need to come through water. It comes through air as well. The moisture contains, generally we know that moisture should not contain salinity anymore because it evaporates, then comes down. But reality is all the buildings are just tearing down. So you know, including the CDA building, KDA building. So from that viewpoint, we have to go for innovation, the one you just mentioned. We have to innovate materials which will resist this sort of a saline situation. And it is a chemistry sort of thing and other things which is beyond the planner's viewpoint, but it's a research we must take up because the disaster is about to come. So it is already there, but it will be exaggerated. So that is the point. And regarding the community health and school issues, I would focus on the standard again and mention that in Detailed Area Plan 2010, the first of Bangladesh, that was done. And I had the opportunity to participate myself and make the standards for that. It was very hurriedly done though, but it is there. So there I would mention that open spaces, the water bodies, the school size, classroom size, number of people to be taught in one single school, all has been mentioned as a dot point. So if that can be incorporated in our housing solution, maintaining that standard, then the open space needful for the students or the children, they will have that, and it will be a healthy situation for others to roam around and have a healthy situation as a community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to request Salma Al-Shofi ma'am. Before going to her, for my younger colleague who do not know Salma Al-Shofi ma'am, I just want to mention one particular thing. Almost 13 years before, when I was doing my PhD fieldwork, I came from UK to collect data from Bangladesh. And that time I went to Salma Al-Shofi ma'am for getting her insight about the low-income housing situation in Bangladesh and everything. Even in last week, my research student, when he was coming to Dhaka, I asked him to go to Salma Al-Shofi ma'am again. So now you can feel that while we are talking about low-income housing and slum situation, urban livelihoods, we have one lighthouse. She is Salma Al-Shofi. So we are really privileged to have her here. And ma'am, as Ansar sir was saying about in one particular point of his speech, that we need to go for participatory solution, participatory designing and other stuff for an inclusive solution while talking about housing and urban livelihoods. You have worked so much with different international agencies as well. For instance, GIZ, UK, and other organizations, even back in 1980s when SIP was implemented in Bangladesh. We have seen small successes in these isolated projects, but we haven't seen anything that could actually scale up. So how do you foresee that this spatial planning framework that Bangladesh Institute of Planners is trying to promote for national urban development and integrated urban development, how do you foresee that this kind of small good practices can be really a big one with the spatial planning framework that we are actually proposing?
Thank you. Very difficult questions he is posing to me. But first I will try to respond to the discussions, as a discussion to the papers that were presented here. There were five papers, though 3 were presented, and I think they're all very good efforts because they are mainly by the students of the various universities, and they have taken the effort, and we need to appreciate their effort and their interest in research and also paper presentation. I was particularly impressed by the first presenter, the topic of child-friendly high school, because it gave us a very good idea of what is happening in the government schools. So out of 41 schools, the survey gave a very good presentation of the findings, though I would say that there was not much mention about garbage and cleanliness. That could be one of the parameters, and also about outdoor spaces, not necessarily outdoor games. Everybody doesn't participate in games, and children also need to spend time outside without playing. So I think those could be some of the interesting ideas. The other papers, I think there were shortcomings, but We will try to overlook them because they all need refinement, and I'm sure that will happen. And if they're published, they should be again looked into. If I want to respond in this little time to what the moderator has asked me to, I think with this very big country, big population, and big number of poor, all we have done so far is try and implement pilot projects and learn from them. But I think the learning part is done. If we want to reach the SDG goals 7 years from now, we have to start in a big way. And to start that, that is what we mean by sustainable urban planning. The solution has to come from the people. People have to take the initiatives. Government can only support. So if it comes to housing, the government shouldn't be doing their housing. They should be doing their housing. Government can just act as a partner to help them with finance, help them with land, as an enabler, but it's still not happening. And if you ask me when it will happen, how it will happen, I really don't know. We should have taken this up at least 20 years back. When we made pilot projects, that was a long time back, we did hope that somebody would take it up. When I tried to design a housing program for Dhaka, I did think that the government would take it seriously, but it was not taken. So I really don't know the answer to your question, sorry. We all have to try for it. And we're talking about spatial planning here today. That is important, we are doing it. Bangladesh is trying to do spatial planning very seriously, and all this e-business is really trying to do better for the country. And I think it may happen if planners, architects, engineers all unite and try to do good for the country. Thank you.
Madam made my life really easy because she ended with the word planner, architects, and engineer. And it is a very praiseworthy initiative from Bangladesh Institute of Planners. And as a planner, I would really like to give my tribute to our chair of this today's session, because he is the president of IAB. So planners, architects, engineers, all of them are working together, and we really want to see a sustainable future for Bangladesh through a better spatial planning framework. So now I would like to request Professor Dr. Khandokar Shabbir Ahmed sir, he is the session chair of this session, to give his remarks on the papers which were presented. And from my side, sir, I have a question for you as well, because you have experience from all over the world, and you were teaching in academia for quite a long time. So from all of your experience, could you please answer that how can the spatial planning approach promote sustainable urban livelihoods, health and well-being, and housing solution for all to make our cities healthy and inclusive? Because the theme that were chosen for today's session actually talking about all the global issues, healthy city, then we are talking about child-friendly city, we are talking about inclusive cities, we are also talking about housing for all. And our attempt, especially the attempt for Bangladesh Institute of Planner, is to contextualize the global vision here. So from your experience, what could be the pathways to achieve those global visions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rashik. Yes, I think we have two trajectories here to discuss. One is the question that you raised regarding urban livelihood and planning futures, and the discussion points raised by these three research papers by the students or presenters. So I'll first go by the papers in serial. First of all, there's been a discussion about child-friendly high school. All the papers are very pertinent to our future and the current issues that are being discussed all over the world, that children must be brought into the whole concept of planning. It's not an adult world. We have to think about the child who will eventually become an adult one day, and for his mental well-being and for his cognitive development? Are we planning properly? So from that perspective, school is a very important area where they spend most of their time of their learning. So there's rightly taken up this topic. Some of the information has already discussed, but I want to just, there's a point of clarification here that when you're designing a school, where you're talking about school, lighting and ventilation and amenities and water and everything is very much required, whether you are child-friendly or not. But when you say child-friendly, you should. We are also talking about the mental well-being, the psychological development needs of a child during their learning. So from that perspective, I think some of the topics that could be further explored, because these are all young people, they've taken up, they've identified this topic, but maybe they can further research some of the ideas like how children socially form groups. As we all know, that from 5 years onwards, children try to form social groups, and they need to have that space in our planning, in our design, where then actually they can interact and form social groups, and without any adult supervision. You cannot have a child-friendly space where you're always looking after the children's spaces by the adults. So the children must have autonomy to interact, to socialize, and that needs to be brought into the planning and design thinking. So that's very important area. And then this question of play and learning, and are we giving sufficient space for play and learning, doing things and things like that? As already architect Shalma Sofi and planners, she has mentioned that not everybody will be playing, but they'll be doing something else maybe. Some of the activities may be a bit passive, but that must be taken care of. We call it behavioral support. We must have spaces and design thinking for all kind of behavior from a child's perspective. So only then we can call it a child-friendly school or an environment. Of course, there are physical requirements of a child that needs to be addressed, ergonomic requirements of a child. But to become really child-friendly, we have to also give emphasis on the mental well-being, mental development or cognitive development of a child, and how, as an architect or a planner, we can address those issues. So this is something that I'd like to draw your attention, to the researchers' attention, so that you can further pursue this. And with regards to participatory resilient housing, yes, it's a very pertinent and very important issue. Then again, given the context of saline environment and sea level rise and the climate change, these are all going to impact our coastal regions and how we're going to do buildings, how we're going to build. As already architect Ansar and planner Ansar has mentioned, that in the saline environment, the ambient environment, the air is also saline. So that has impact. Now, when you're making constructions like mixing concrete, you need water to generate the chemical action. If that is saline water, then it's a big problem. You cannot use saline water to get the right amount of strength, and you can eventually have deterioration of the concrete. So it's very, very challenging in a coastal environment to find fresh water for construction, and also the saline water can impact corrosion of the steel, the reinforcements. So you do not get a proper service life of building in coastal regions, and taking into account the issue of climate change, it is going to significantly impact the service life of buildings in the coastal regions of Bangladesh as well. So of course, we need to look at the building aspect of housing. But having said that, we must also look at housing from what F.C. Turner, architect F.C. Turner, has once mentioned in his work after his experience in Latin America, that housing is not a product. It's not a noun. You should look at housing as a verb, that you know, it's not just it's a deliverable product in the market. It's a participatory thing. It's a social thing, and there is also livelihood is intertwined with housing. You have seen a lot of housing efforts being taken in the country. Most of them have failed because we have not looked at it from the perspective of livelihood, employment. So it's all connected. What I can afford as a house is connected directly to how much I earn. So you cannot ignore the earning thing, the livelihood aspect of it, of a housing. So that is why it is said it is best you leave the house itself to the owner, and you get, as Ms. Salma said, that you facilitate, you fund the housing activity. So if you can look at it from a perspective of verb, then we can do better justice to housing rather than throwing out building products and materials to the person in need. So I think that's from the perspective of the resilience housing. And the health issue, community health is again a pertinent issue, and I want to draw again the climate change issue, sustainable development goal into this. And we would like to know further as a planning perspective or an urban designer as to how our planning, the way we distribute or plan a city or a parts of a city or a neighborhood is going to impact the health and well-being of the dwellers. There is a direct connection. So in the presentation, I have not found that connection to be very profound in terms of the data shown about health and well-being to the planning parameters. So I think that can be further studied to connect the planning decisions as they impact health and well-being. With these days, we are talking about walkability. Is again a health. It adds to your health and well-being. And we talk about airborne disease. Again, that is connected to your airflow and ventilation in a planned city. If you get stagnant cities, very dense cities, we do not have natural flow. When it is hindered, you get this kind of disease, proliferation of this kind of disease. So we need to connect the disease pattern with climate and the plan itself. So then I would say then, as planners and architects, we can extract policy decisions from such research. So that is again an area that can be further explored. So, and with regards to the question of livelihood, though not profoundly presented in any of these papers, but the theme is there. So when you say urban livelihood, the people who are living in cities or urban areas, how they earn, what sort of employment we're talking about. In the past, the areas of development and growth were the rural areas, where the agriculture produced eventually helped the Mughal, even the British colonial period. Essentially, there is this extraction of wealth from the rural areas, from the production of different kind of materials. So it was again always the rural area that were generating the revenue, and then if you come to the more recent mechanisms of livelihood in cities, it's most into trade and commerce, and eventually to service industries. So when we're planning cities, we really need to balance the amount of density that we're talking about and the density of employment and livelihood. Having said that, we also need to connect the question of food security with the cities. We have seen in the recent past, in the COVID period, in Dhaka, when all the zones were cut off from the city, we were having problems of getting agricultural produce to the city. So city was totally dependent on the hinterland. City could not feed its own people within the boundaries of the city. So cities are now dependent on large areas. So this is something that we can really, as planners and urban designers, we can take into account how we can restore or salvage the agricultural land within the perimeters of the city, and still call it a part of a city. And in our DAP, we have made a significant effort to, protect the agricultural lands, because the agriculture is again connected to our food security. But the problem is the capital, the movement of capital in a capitalist society is so aggressive that no amount of planning policies can really restrain that. So for that we need political will. Again, it is something not on the table of the planners or the architects, it's on the politicians. Political will is required. Hence we have seen in the morning, we have arranged, we have invited persons who further political will, so to really connect with that issues of well-being and livelihood issues connected to planning. So I think it's a very good effort from the Institute of Planners to try to connect with the policymakers, the political will, to really further the cause of the people through the planning ideas, through the framework, through policies. From that point of view, I think it's a very successful effort. And I would also like to thank the three presenters to really pick out these very important and timely issues in their research, through the research. I'm sure they will further continue with the work. And I would also like to thank our co-discussants, picking out important aspects of the papers that we have presented here today. Thank you very much.
And thank you, sir. Thank you very much. This was the lesson we want to carry forward from today's session. It is about the advocacy role of the planners, especially the professional institutes, Bangladesh Institute of Planners, Institute of Architects Bangladesh, and IEB. The advocacy role is very important to create political will. So that's how we want to conclude today's session, and I would like to request Dr. Audrey for further notifications. Thank you. Thank you from our side.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Chair, Moderator, discussants, and all the presenters of the session. অত্যন্ত প্রাণবন্ত একটা সেশন ছিল, সবাইকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ. And now I request the honorable guest on stage to kindly accept the crest from VIP. I think some এখান থেকে VIP এর প্রতিনিধি থাকার কথা. VIP এর পক্ষ থেকে ক্রেস্ট গ্রহণের জন্য অনুরোধ করছি মঞ্চে উপবিষ্ট দর্শক, মঞ্চে উপবিষ্ট গেস্টদের. অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ। আমরা এখন একটি খুব ছোট্ট চা বিরতিতে যাব, 10 মিনিটের ছোট্ট চা বিরতি। চা বিরতির পর ফিরে এসে এখানে প্যারালাল সেশন 3 শুরু হবে, যেটা ক্লাইমেট রেজিলিয়েন্ট আরবান ডেভেলপমেন্টের উপরে হবে এই মঞ্চেই।